Hi, welcome to another edition of that Millwall podcast. Well, slightly different than the normal way. So basically, we've had these two Herberts with us now for a while. Kai, Christ, when Kai joined us, he was a young lad, and now he's developing into an old man. So hey ho, we'll get there. But look, we're gonna bring back one of the shows we started with a format a while ago. We call it Who Are Ya? Others call it Listed Line. It's stolen really from Robert Elms on BBC London on the show he does, Listed Line. It's 20 questions thereabouts about Millwall. And basically what we do is we run through the questions with both of these lads. And then what we do is we get to know the panel a little bit better, find out why they're Millwall and if they're really Millwall, and just from there. So look, sit back, grab yourself a drink, grab yourself a cup of tea, grab yourself a vape or a cigar or something other what you want to smoke. But we'll be back straight after this. I'll see you in a minute. Welcome back. Part one of 20 questions. Right, Kai, heads or tails?
Go ahead.
Okay, you lose. Right, Joe, you go first. It's easy. Question one is easy. It's your name, your Twitter handle, and age, and basically whereabouts in London you live. Okay. Or whereabouts in the world you live. If you can give as much or as little of that as you want.
Yeah. So my Twitter handle is Mr. Zampa7. I use Joe Zampa as my name on Twitter. I don't like to give out my real surname, but I'll give you a clue. It starts with a Z.
No shit.
No. I'm 46 and I grew up in Clapham, South London, so I'm not too far from Millwall. Lived there to about age of 27, and then moved out to Esher, Surrey, after got married and after I had our first child. So yeah, that's pretty much me.
Kai, same question.
So yeah, my name's obviously Kai Bennett. Twitter handle is Kai Bennett 32. I'm 18 years old, and yeah, I've lived in sort of Bromley all my life.
It's weird when you say I'm 18 because we remember when I think you first started coming on the show, you were 16, weren't you?
Something like that, yeah.
He's now reached puberty and everything, isn't he?
Yeah. If you I'll tell you, if you do watch this or you haven't, head over to our YouTube channel, scroll back through to the ones right down the bottom and have a look at Kai from the start and have a look at Kai now, and you sort of, we've got an aging Kai as you go through. And if we carry on doing this show for another 10, 15 years or so, you'll see Kai slowly age with stress. Do more and more. So, yeah. Right, on this question then, Kai, you'll go first. And then obviously you, Joe, and we'll rotate through. So you'll do question 2 first. And then, Joe, you'll do question 3 first and vice versa. If there's any question you don't really know or you want to come back to it, just pass. And then we go to the next person, and we can always come back to you to give you time to think if you haven't really got an answer. So, Kai, to you, how did you become a Millwall supporter?
So it's really gone through my family, really. It started with my granddad. Granddad's about 75 now. Used to hop the old den at probably about 8-9 years old. He grew up in Peckham, so quite really close to the den, the old den. And then it's really gone through there. My uncle's his son. My uncle is a Millwall fan. It's gone all the way through to my dad, who married into the family, and he's loved it ever since. And then I was younger, and one day my dad said to me, "You want to come to Millwall?" And I was like, "Yeah, love to." I think I was probably about 5 at the time. I remember the game. It was 0-0 against Carlisle. It was a League One game. I remember it was really dull 0-0. Apart from Gary Alexander hit the bar, that was my only memory of the game. But yeah, obviously been going ever since. Love it.
Excellent. Same question to you then, Joe.
Yeah, it amazed me when you hear Kai say he's 5 years old watching Gary Alexander's scoring. Like, it doesn't seem that long ago to me, but it's incredible. That was your first sort of memory, wasn't it? Brilliant.
And you were about 27.
Yeah. I was 12. So what was the question again? Sorry, how you get to become a Millwall
How did you
supporter?
become a Millwall fan?
Okay, so weirdly, and I'm not ashamed to admit this, when I was younger,
You say West Ham, we're cutting this short right now.
No. But I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I actually started supporting Liverpool. And it sounds weird, but I think everyone in the 80s liked Liverpool. They were a good side. They had some good players. They were clearly, the kind of the Man City, if you like, of then. And but of course, being Liverpool, I could never go and watch a game, could I? I couldn't have gone to watch them. And one of my mates, one of my best mates, a guy called Mark, he used to go with his uncle to go and watch Millwall play. Although he was a Liverpool supporter as well, like myself at the time. But he used to go along to watch a live game, and he went a few times, went quite often, went with his cousin as well. And then he asked me to go with him one week. And the first game I went to, I'm pretty sure it was Hull at home. We won 2-0 back in 1987. It would have been the season we went up. And my first memory was I just remember sort of like walking up the steps as you go into the ground, and it was a fairly sort of like, it must have been a late kickoff or so. I remember the floodlights were there. The pitch was bright, with the floodlights. And my first memory was coming out to this stadium thinking, wow, like unbelievable, the atmosphere, the people. I remember sort of like walking along and seeing like these yellow barriers, safety barriers, stop fans from moving forward and whatnot. I remember sort of looking at the front thinking, what's these yellow spiky sort of like plastic sort of spikes top of the kind of fencing, which we had a fence at the time, as well as the sideboard. So that was my earliest sort of memory, really. As long back as I can remember.
I mean, question 3, obviously you first, was you sort of answered it, but what was your first Millwall memory as such, or your first impression? You sort of answered it to a degree, but it might be slightly different.
I did. It was that, really. I mean, I just remember visually thinking. I remember at the time, because I was quite small, and when the decision went against us, I remember, because it's all standing at that time. I remember like, all the guys, all the men behind it will start swearing and shouting and rushing forward and knocking me forwards. And I was thinking, Jesus Christ, like that. And that happened a few times. I remember looking to my mate Mark. I said, Jesus, like, does that happen quite often? And he goes, get used to it, mate. If they score, it'd be a lot worse than that. And I was kind of praying that Millwall wouldn't score. I was like, I don't want to score. And I just remember just sort of feeling quite vulnerable, like in this big crowd, people just sort of pushing around and move forward and just going back and forward, And I remember kind of hitting these barriers thinking, Jesus, I'm going to like knock myself out here, because it was up to my head, the barrier at the time almost. But that's kind of like my early sort of memory. But, very quickly you kind of just grow into it. You love it. They always say, you don't choose to support Millwall. Millwall chooses you. And, I think I for one could vouch for that. That was a great season, and a season that was obviously very, very iconic in our history, because we got promoted to the old First Division at the time.
Yeah. 88, was it? 88, 89 season, wasn't it? Or 87,
87, 88, yeah.
CPL for you then, Joe. CPL,
yes.
halfway seats or Alderton Road end?
CBL. And weirdly, even in the new ground, I'm not sure if that question's coming up later on, but that's where I used to always go quite a lot, at the club lane and behind the goal on the south upper, up until very recently.
Well, Kai, you're not old enough to go into the new den, or the old den. New den for you. Do you like it there, and where do you sit?
I love the new den. I mean, I was never lucky enough to go to the old den. My granddad always tells me stories about it. It looks incredible, sort of, the atmosphere there. But obviously, for me, only seeing the new den, I still love it. I never got to witness that, so I can never compare it. But the new den is well, I just call it the den because it's the only den I've known. But there's nothing like it, is there, on a Saturday afternoon? You know, especially if it's a full house, massive game. It's a great place to be a part of. It almost feels like you're there with not just your own family, but your Millwall family, if that makes sense. Like everyone's done the same thing, and everyone wants to win the game. You can see the passion and the love for the team and then the club in every supporters' eyes. But yeah, I love it at the new Den and sitting. Well, up until recently, I've been sitting in the Colbo Lane end, but obviously because I've been doing the journalism stuff, I'm in the press box. But I missed
do you work for the journalism side? Then do you? Didn't know that.
I heard you did man on the board at some point as well.
Touche. Well done, Kai.
I was second ever, second only fan on the board. Fucking killed the position off as well.
They stopped after you, didn't they? They probably thought, fuck that. Not getting any more.
They had enough, they had enough. So yeah, no, it was like, oops. No, fair play, Kai. You threw me right off here. All right, let's get into now the questions start to really get interesting. Kai, you're first. Favorite all-time player?
For me, I'm going to have to go for none other than Jimmy Abdou. Early years supporting Millwall. Jimmy was always there. And when he left, when obviously he finished playing for Millwall, it was a bit weird because he'd been there as long as I could remember. So not having Jimmy about was a very strange time at Millwall for the first couple of years at least, because you would have expected that engine in the midfield to be running around causing a nightmare, being a pest. And even though they didn't have the most technical, they didn't have the best technical ability, what he didn't have in that he made up for in his work rate and his desire and energy. So for me, my favourite all-time player at Millwall supporting them has to be Jimmy Abdou.
Okay, same question then, young Joseph.
Yes, this is an easy one for me. So I idolise this guy, and ironically, I actually got opportunity to meet him about 2 years ago in the executive lounge. I got a photo taken with him. So if you go into, I had it on a pinned tweet on my profile on Twitter, but I think it's been changed to Bellicophobia now. But and my favourite player was Tony Cascarino. We had a lot of good players that season. I remember we had obviously there's Briley, Terry Hurlock, Jimmy Carter. Rhino was only a youngster coming through. So many players to mention. Teddy Sheringham, of course, was a massive player at the time for us. But there's something about Tony Cascarino. I loved the way he sort of played. I loved the goals he scored. He was the kind of the main man, if you like, up front. So when I used to play football with my friends, I used to try to emulate him. I used to pretend I was Tony Cascarino. Like we'd be playing football, on the estate and, on the concrete playground and playing headers and volleys. And like my brother would be, sort of Teddy Sheringham. My mate would be Jimmy Carter, and he'd be crossing the ball, and I'd be there like Cascarino headering the ball in, and screaming his name. And I embarrassed myself and told Tony Cascarino this story when I met him. So he just laughed, and I'm sure he's probably heard it, 100 times from other friends.
I had to do Talk Sport a month ago now with who did I do it with? Laura Wood, I think it was, and and Tony Cascarino, and Tony Cascarino made a promise.
Actually. I remember
he made a promise that he'll come on here later this year.
Yeah.
So
I remember that. Well, that'd be something. I might go a bit sort of gummy on him and like going a bit silly. Hello, Tony.
Right, you first, Joe. Favorite all-time manager?
There's a few. I mean, I love.
Only allowed one.
I love Neil Harris. I thought Neil Harris was a great player. I think it was good. He got us obviously as a manager. I really like Mark McGee as well.
Mark McGee.
The one I chose.
What can it mean to
great football. Top of the league. There's
so many different words to that song. So.
I know. So the manager I picked was Mick McCarthy.
Okay.
I just love that era. I like what he did. I like the players he brought in. I remember the football we played under him. It just seemed the ball was played on the floor. Like it was a lot of passing. Players like Malcolm Allen, Jenny Morley, Van der Berg. You know, I remember these players coming through. Then of course the younger ones coming through as well at the time. But it just seemed to play a nice sort of trait of football that I enjoyed watching. I don't know if he was the manager at the time when we had Mark Kennedy, Ben Thatcher, Andy Roberts, Alex Ray. Would that have been Mick McCarthy as well when the youngsters started coming through? Or had he left by then? I can't remember.
No, Alex Ray would have been. Yeah, he would have been there, I think.
Might have been. I can't think of anyone else at that time who could have been manager. But
it would have been George Graham, wouldn't it? On 80,
well, that was really early. Yeah, that was before John Docherty took over. So he would have been like mid 80s. Him and Frank McClintock. And then John Docherty took over. And I think about a year or two after we got promoted. But no, with Mick McCarthy, I just loved that sort of time. I just loved the football. It sort of changed a little bit. And we were scoring goals. We looked good on the eye. Good football team to watch. And some great sort of players that sort of come through that group.
We know who Kai's going to be. It's going to be Steve Lomas.
Out.
Who's your manager then? Yeah. Actually, tell us who your manager is, right?
Yeah.
And then we're going to tell that other story, okay?
Okay. So my manager, obviously, it's difficult because I haven't had that many managers. Because obviously, we are a club that tends to keep our managers for quite a while. But apart from Holloway and Lomas, maybe one more. It's been Kenny Jackett, Neil Harris, and Gary Rowett the majority of the years.
Yeah. For you, yeah.
For me, yeah. Obviously, Neil Harris, I love Neil Harris. I think Kenny Jackett did a great job as well. But for me, the manager has to be Neil Harris, just because of what he did as a player, and then to transfer that as a manager as well. I thought, some of the cup runs we went on and some of the displays in League One when we went up, and then nearly get us up in the playoffs the first season back in the Championship was really good. So yeah, I'm going to go for Neil Harris.
Okay, come on in, Kai. Tell us your Steve Lomas story. I'll tell you, the fans will love this. The listeners will love this story because they probably saw it at the time and didn't know that later in life that kid is Kai Bennett.
So I was about, I don't know how old, but I must have been about 9 or 10. I don't know how, it must be about 9 or 10. Anyway, so the game that Lomas got sacked after was we lost to Watford, I think it was 4-0 at Vicarage Road. And I think it was near Christmas time. It might have even been Boxing Day. It was once something near there. And I took a Steve Lomas out banner with me, like a little paper thing I made at home as a kid. And I took it with me. And anyway, obviously he got sacked probably about, straight after the game, I think it was. Anyway, I'm holding it up at the end of the game. And I go home and Dad goes to me, "Oh, Kai, you've just been on the telly. We can see your banner." So yeah, that's my claim to fame.
So you basically got Steve Lomas a sack?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. We're getting a picture of it. And we're posting on our Twitter feed.
Yeah, so all Mill fans have got Kai to thank for that one, haven't they?
Kai Bennett had there. So
Kai.
Right, the worst, Kai, you're first. Worst Millwall player you've ever seen at the Den, or ever seen play in a Millwall shirt?
Oh,
can be anyone.
It has to be Gary Taylor Fletcher. He was.
He's been doing this show way too long, hasn't he? We've influenced him dreadfully.
He was dreadful though, when he came to us. I think didn't Holloway sign him? It was a Holloway sign him.
He's a mate of his, weren't he, or something? Yeah.
Yeah, and he worked with him at Blackpool. And obviously, there's no doubting Taylor Fletcher scored quite a few goals in his career. But when he came to us, he just looked like he just looked like he was playing the wrong sport. He was in the wrong sport. Like,
he should have been playing darts.
Yeah.
Darts or bowls or something, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but he just didn't look like he was interested. He looked,
he was out of shape, weren't he? I mean, he had a real guard on as well, didn't he?
It wasn't a good time for that up front. God,
Same question for you then, Joe. Worst ever Millwall player?
That was mine. It's quite an easy one, really, isn't it? I mean, the guy I was on loan with to us, he played 10 games, didn't score a goal. I don't think he even got near the other team's goal areas, to be fair, let them have a shot and score. And we did our loan team recently, didn't we? We talked about all those strikers we had, over the years, and some scored, a few goals, some have scored one, some have scored, quite a lot. To play 10 games and not even get one goal, the guy was overweight. You could see his gut hanging over his shorts. It was embarrassing. I mean, thankfully, even Holloway weren't that stupid to start him. He's often used to come off the bench, didn't he, the last sort of 15, 20 minutes. I think that's all he had in him. About 15, 20 minutes running around the pitch. I say running around the pitch. I say that word loosely. It's kind of just walking around the pitch a little bit.
Yeah. He had the same style and finesse as I do on a football pitch. So yeah,
Well, I think
he's about the same fucking size as me as well.
I think you lasted longer than he did, though, Mickey. To be fair, at least you've done 35 minutes. You know what I mean?
Let's see it. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So Kai, worst ever player you've seen play at the Den, as in an away player?
Gary Taylor Fletcher.
That's tough, but I'm going to go for Jermaine Beckford, just because every time we played him, he crumbled. He absolutely crumbled, like under the pressure.
Ben Chidwell.
Well, there's players that used to come to the Den and they thrive off the atmosphere, and they come to the Den, they thrive off the atmosphere and the banter and stuff. But Jermaine Beckford, he just, as soon as the Millwall fans bantered with him, he just didn't like it. I remember he played for Leeds. He got subbed off at half time, I think it was.
Who was that cunt that played for us and then he played everywhere else he played? He scores against us.
Graben.
Yeah, Lewis Graben. Fucking hell, mate.
All the time.
It was a nightmare, but
even this season we lost 1-0 at home, didn't we? I'm sure he got the winner, didn't he? Like a 92nd, 93rd minute.
And he was already going in and he had to tap it in just to make
just to make sure. Yeah. Exactly.
So who's your worst ever player then, Joe?
I struggled really because I'll be honest with you. I mean, you don't really look at the opposition who their worst players are. You kind of identify who their best players are. Sometimes you can give credit.
But you know who the worst player is you've seen. Stop fucking getting out of it. Fucking give us a name. The worst player you've ever seen at the Den. I
was struggling, but if we're using players that have crumbled, didn't David Bentley play against us for Blackburn once, and we gave him a lot of stick? And I think he played quite shit as well. I mean, everything was going Pete Tong for him. He couldn't cross a ball, couldn't hit a pass. His shooting was over the place. Am I dreaming that, or did that happen?
I think you're not dreaming it, but yeah. But also, you can understand. I mean, we were there at the charity match the other week, and you raised it on a bit where you said about where you can hear the crowd, and the crowd weren't that big, and you could hear everything they were saying and stuff. But can you imagine what the Den would be like if you're an opposition player and you go to take a throw in? You can understand to a degree why Ben Chigwell fucking shit himself. Why he didn't want to take any more throw-ins, because it was horrendous. The level of abuse. I mean, we've all sat there in Coldblow Lane End and listened to the shit the keepers get. And you just think, especially on, on East, I think it's on East side where the dugouts are, there's a couple of guys there who just constantly give it to players. And you just think, fuck taking that all day long. Do you know what I mean? That must, if you're not a proven pro, that must get to you. And just suddenly like
to deal with it.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, can I just say though, flip one to that question, Mickey. The best player I've seen at Millwall, and it's been a few decent players there, but the one that I thought really stand out to me was Paul Merson. When we lost Portsmouth 5-0, and we had a decent side at the time. McGee was in charge. We had Eiffel playing, Christoph Kinnett, I'm sure, Harris. We had a decent side at the time, and they smashed us 5-0, and Paul Merson just ran the show. He even scored a penalty, I think, for the fifth one at the end. And if I remember, he was one of the few players that got clapped off by the Mill supporters at the end, when he was substitute, I think, at the end.
There's only been a couple of them as well. So
and Darren Byfield did, I think, didn't he, when he played for Rotherham? We lost, is it 6-1 against them? And he scored 5 goals against us. And he went off about the 80th minute, and he got a standing ovation for the Mill supporters. And he ended up playing for us, didn't he, a few years after, which is interesting. Shame we couldn't get hold of Merson, but yeah,
right.
He was good.
Let's move on. Question 10. The most memorable Millwall moment. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. We go you, Kai.
I'll go with for me that
Not your favourite. The most memorable to you.
I think the one that the most memorable moment that stands out to me has to be the Everton match a couple of years ago. You know, when Murray Wallace scored last minute. My cousin to the right of me, his arms have gone flying up in the air to celebrate, and he's knocked my little cousin's tooth out. So her tooth's on the floor. She's trying to find it because she's like about the tooth fairy and stuff. So
which are real, and I understand why she wanted to find it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tooth fairy when you're younger, mate, pays well. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, she was about 7 or 8, and she's looking for it, and we're scoring, and we've just scored, and my granddad's looking at her going, "Don't worry about that, just celebrate," sort of thing. And Murray Wallace, and I remember the commentary. I got home and watched the game all over again. It was one of their memorable nights at the Den, and yeah, I had an operation the day before as well on one of my ears, and doctor said to me, "You shouldn't go to the Den tomorrow. It's not safe for you and stuff." And anyway, moaned all evening to my parents, probably about 15, going, "I want to go to the Den. I really want to go." And anyway, in the end, Dad went to me, "Right, fine, you can go, but on one condition: you wear something over your ear to basically block out a lot of the noise." And so, yeah, basically, yeah. And I went there, and I'm so pleased I went. Otherwise, it would have been a real regret of mine.
Yeah, but it was great. Yeah,
Great
especially when the coach drivers took the wrong fucking turn and come down Ilderton Road. Yeah. So yeah, what's your most memorable moment following Millwall then, Joe?
Yeah, so there's a few games I was thinking about, but the one that stands out to me is probably the most iconic game was Millwall away to Hull when we got promoted in '87, and at the time we needed to win the game. We won the game 1-0. Kevin O'Callaghan had a penalty and took it superbly, and that win meant that mathematically that's it. We're up. We're promoted into the old First Division before the Premiership was around, of course. So that for me is probably the most memorable, iconic sort of games I could ever sort of think of, really.
Okay, question 11 to you first, Joe. Your favourite ever Millwall moment?
Okay, so my favourite Millwall moment is the last home game of the season when we got promoted in 2001. We played Oldham, won 5-0, and we absolutely terrorised them. I think Claridge scored a couple. Harris actually played a part in all 5 goals in that game. I think he scored one, set up Reedy for 1 or 2. Claridge got a couple, and Harris was just on fire. We absolutely annihilated them, and it was an amazing moment to know that we were going up, but going up as champions. And then, of course, they then walked around the ground holding the trophy. It was an amazing occasion. Absolutely. For me, it's probably for me for a live game to go and watch. It's probably the best game I've seen Millwall play.
Your question then, Kai. Favourite ever Millwall moment? Kai, you dickhead, you're on mute.
I was good. My favourite would probably have to be the playoff final a couple of years ago under Harris. Morrison's goal. Just remember I did go to the Scunthorpe game when Gary Alexander scored, but obviously we lost 3-2. I was also at the Swindon one where Robbo scored, but that Morrison one, there was just almost a different feeling about it, if you know what I mean. That sort of, I mean, in both games, too, club almost, you could, well, Robbo is a legend. You probably could define Morrison as a legend too. But that game, the strike partnership between Gregory and Morrison was so good. And Bradford obviously had missed that chance earlier in the match when Archer saved it. So it really felt like that game that we were going to probably go on and win. And when it went in, that relief around the section of Millwall end, and obviously the amount of fans we brought that day compared to Bradford it was unbelievable atmosphere.
You see, that playoff final where Morrison scored was probably one of the best moments as such, like being there and everything else. It was great, but on the same level, it was probably one of the greatest regrets because I said to the club, I've got invited to hospitality with William Hill and Lord Kennedy. So I've taken that position. I've taken a seat there, blah, blah, blah. And then I got told, "Oh, great, because we don't have that many Royal Box tickets. So if you've got a place, then you take that." And I was like, "Oh yeah, we'll be all right. All right, yeah. Well, it'll be all right." And then I don't know if you've been to hospitality at like the William Hill or the hospitality at Wembley, but it's right at the top. So you've got a great view. You've got a great big balcony, and the food and the drink and everything else is second to none. I mean, the food is like lumps of fucking steak and fucking lamb and everything you want is there, mate. Food wise, drink wise, everything. And you're up there, great view. So I saw it from the top down as it went in. Fantastic view, fantastic. But my biggest regret is that I weren't lowered down and I weren't in the Royal Box and I didn't go on the pitch legitimately after that game. And it was one of the greatest things. But yeah, hey ho, it is what it is. So we go you, Kai, next. Question 12. Funniest ever Millwall moment?
I was just thinking about this one, and I can't really think of like a load of them, but I'm going to go for the one that I remember the clearest. I remember it's on Twitter. I see it pop up on Twitter all the time. I think we were beating Birmingham 2-0 about 4 years ago, and Jeb Wallace has got the ball between his legs, and the players trying to lift him around to try and get the ball off him, and he's got it still, and they just wherever he basically pulls him round, Jed just will not let go of the ball, and it went on probably for about 10-20 seconds. The referee and him having to get the ball off his legs and stuff. It was just classic time wasting, and it was I was remembering in the stands just dying of laughter because I thought it was fantastic. But yeah, that's what I'd have to go for my funniest moment.
Joe?
That was mine as well. I think that there's been a couple that Jed's been involved with. I think that there was that one that was about 3 years ago, wasn't it? 3 or 4 years ago when he held onto that ball. And what was funny was when the guy kind of picked him up off the ground, his legs were bent, weren't they? His feet were under his arse, so to speak, as he was kneeling down. And he didn't straighten his legs. So he's still sitting on his ball. And the guy's trying to turn him.
I can visual it right now where the gazer's it's as if the gazer's picking up his naughty little toddler. And the ball's in between Jed's knees. And everywhere he moves, the ball's just going. And Jed's like just all limp weight, isn't he? He's just like, and in the end, the gazer just puts him down. And
brilliant.
You know what I mean?
Brilliant.
Well, I think my funniest ever moment, Millwall, was when the Cardiff fan fell off the top. All the way through the game, he'd been giving it fucking all this, and you're going to fucking get it, you slag, and all that. And then all of a sudden they scored, and everyone surged forward, and the poor cunt went straight over the top, landed on the seats at the bottom. It was all right, but when the old Bill got to him first, the old Bill thought he was dead and started to fucking try and give him compressions, and the cunt weren't dead.
he was faking death.
I think falling off the top, all he got was a broken finger. But because of the old Bill, I think they broke a couple of his ribs for him.
Trying to bring back to life.
Allegedly. So yeah. Question 13. Go you first, Joe. Best story about following Millwall.
At first, I scratched my head thinking I can't think of anything, but then there was a couple that come to mind. So I'm going to do two. That's okay. So. One was years and years and years ago. We played at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace away, and we had a German forward called Uwe Fuchs at the time. I don't even remember him. And this game was live on Sky or TV or something. It's been transmitted live, and I had it recorded. My dad's recording it for me while we were there watching the game. And we couldn't get a ticket for the Millwall end. So what do you do as any sort of loyal supporter? You go and sit in the home end, which was the Palace end. So it was me and about 3 mates of ours. We sat at the home end, and we're trying to sort of contain ourselves. I think we went 1-0 down or something like that. And then suddenly there's an opportunity come up. A cross comes in. Uwe Fuchs scores, and me and my mates just couldn't help ourselves. We just jumped up. And we're like, yeah, we're going mental. There was an old lady behind me with an umbrella, and she was like whacking me. She's going, "You bloody Millwall supporters, you should be in here, you bloody hooligans." And we're already quite young ourselves anyway. We're sort of teenagers, I guess, But what was funny was when I watched back that evening, the game, you actually see the camera angle as a cross comes in, Uwe Fuchs scores. In the distance where the Palace side is, there's 4 guys just stand up randomly in the middle of the crowd cheering. and literally we're just standing there, like in our element, which is equalised, So that's one of them. And very, very quickly, the second one is I used to go to a lot of away games with my brother-in-law, who's also a Millwall supporter. And Alex is obviously, a big guy. He goes bodybuilding, and he's got a bit of a presence about him. He's calmed down a lot now, but he used to get involved quite a bit with the kind of the fun side of going away, the next events. So we go to Cardiff away, and of course I'm very, very cautious. I'm saying that Alex, keep your voice down, and he's very loud when he talks. He's got a real sort of South London accent, very, very kind of sort of thing. And he goes, yeah, bruv, no worries. And I remember we sort of got there to grab it early. We parked up and we found a Costa Coffee, which ran a corner from the actual grounds. So I said to him, look, just be quiet, keep it down. And he goes, yeah. So he walks inside and he goes in. I'm on the phone to my missus at the time. And he goes into the counter and I'm standing by the doors and walking in. There's all these Welsh fans there, all sort of chatting away. Next minute, he shouts out, he goes, bruv, what do you want? And I was like, oh my God. And his accent just sort of killed it. And it's like a scene out of a Western. Like literally, everyone just stopped talking. Like everyone just stared and looked at us. And I was like, for fuck's sake, But luckily it was all good. I think slowly people started talking again and we just sort of blended in. We took the coffees for takeout. We didn't stay in. I just remember him the way he just sort of came out. He just couldn't give a shit. It's very, very brash. What do you want? Do you want a latte? What do you want? He's going to me. I was thinking, oh my God. But yeah, that's probably the only two that sort of stick out at the moment.
Kai, yours?
So it was actually last season, QPR away. So we find out the fixtures and we booked a holiday to go abroad with my family. And I'm thinking, looked at the fixtures, gone, hang on a second, we're going to be back a day later here than QPR. I'm thinking, I can't miss the first game of the season back with fans. So I said, so I told my mum and dad. And Dad went, well, we're only going down to like Devon area. We weren't going abroad or anything. We're just going to Devon. So it wasn't the furthest holiday. But we obviously booked it for 7 nights. And my family, I think, when we got to drive a couple of people up there and stuff, my dad's going, oh my God, we're going to miss the first game of the season. My granddad's fretting and stuff. All the girls in the family, they don't care. They're like, well, just miss your first game. It doesn't matter, sort of thing. And we're like, no, that can't be on. So we discussed it with the family. There's a few choice words said from both sides, trying to argue our cases and sort of stuff. And anyway, in the end, we won, which they were not happy about. We left a day early and we hit traffic on the motorway and we ended up getting back about 4 o'clock in the morning. I think we had to leave for QPR about 11ish. We get out with about 6 hours sleep, go to the football, obviously draw 1-1. We then get back and family are on the group chat going, oh, you didn't even win. It wasn't even worth it and stuff. My granddad put a video of it and goes, it was definitely worth it. So, yeah, that was probably mine because it's just that way of family. Isn't it? Like, they don't get it and we're like, we can't miss it. And, yeah, it's just that you get that sort of stuff because, obviously, the girls they don't care about my mum, my auntie, my nan. They don't really care. They want us to win, but only because they want us to be good in good moods when we come home.
Exactly, be happy, yeah.
But, that's probably my favourite.
Cool. Question 14. Favourite current player, Kai?
Oh, can I go for players who are out of contract, who not out of contract yet?
Yeah, you're going to go Jed Wallace.
Well, I was going to go him, but now I'm thinking about it. I'll probably go with Bart.
Okay.
Danny's a very close second, but I'll probably go with Bart.
Okay. Joe?
I went with Jed Wallace. I think, for what he's done for us with his goal contributions and assists, he's good to watch. So he's probably my favourite Millwall player. Obviously, whether he's going to be there or not next season, who knows? Nothing's been said yet. A shout out to Tom Bradshaw. I like Tom Bradshaw. I think he's a nice guy, good goal scorer. Danny McNamara. I think he's...
No, listen, I think you're both getting confused. It says favourite current player. One. Favourite. Not favourite fucking team. Do you know what I mean? Fucking hell. Right.
We go Jed Wallace then.
Stop. There we go. Bart, Jed Wallace. There we go. Right. Okay. Question 15. Get trickier now. Best away day following Millwall. Joe.
I've chosen a weird one. I've chosen Cambridge away. This is
Neil
back
Harris's
in
hat-trick.
2001 when I
Paul
forgot a hat-trick.
hat-trick, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it was a real shit ground. You know, it was an evening kickoff. It was a bit gloomy. I think we went 1-0 down or 2-1 down at one point, but Ifield's hat-trick just sort of turned the game. And I said I think we won 5-1. I think it was. Yeah, just being there to watch, you know, Paul Ifill score that hat-trick. What a hat-trick it was as well. So to go all that way to Cambridge to get the 3 points, to score those goals, you know, and leave there with your head held high, thinking, yes, we are the Dogs Danglies. You know, we just smashed you 5-1, and our player scored a hat trick against you as well, and what hat trick it was. So that probably is my favourite away game.
Kai?
My favourite away game was my first one following Millwall. My family sort of decided it was, you know, about, you know, I could go to an away game, and what an away game it was. It was Charlton versus Millwall, and it was Lowry. You know, when Lowry scored that stunner.
Oh, right. Was that the 25-yard or something, wasn't it? He kind of smashed it.
Miles out, and he's absolutely pumped it. And I remember that first away game, and yeah, it was that was my favourite because obviously it's my first. He scored that. We beat Charlton again, and it was just, yeah, it was a special day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. Neither of us mentioned. Well, I guess you probably wouldn't mention it, but I was going to mention it. Millwall away to we're at Old Trafford against Sunderland in the semi-final of the FA Cup when Tim Cahill scored. So I was there.
Leeds 4-3 game.
I was there at that game, and we won 1-0 against Sunderland. It was an amazing day. You know, great game.
The trouble is the big games like that do, but a lot of people on this, when we've done this before with people, they always go for this, you know, like some of the games you wouldn't necessarily think say stick to their mind, you know.
Exactly.
But yeah. Right, question 16. Kai, most disliked opponent ever?
Was it just an individual player?
No, team.
Oh, team. I'll go for I'll have to go for West Ham. I mean, it's obvious one. I mean, Palace are a close second because we get a lot of Palace from where.
Don't. Okay, stop. Right.
Do you want third as well?
No, you're jumping fucking ahead. Fuck's sake. Joe, one answer, and one answer only. Most disliked opponent.
For me, West Ham.
Okay, thank you very much. Right. Joe, top 3 rivals.
I'll go West Ham first. I'll say Leeds United 2, second place, which is weird because they're so fucking far away, aren't they, up in West Yorkshire. And then Crystal Palace as my third. For obvious reasons.
Okay, Kai?
I'd go same teams, but West Ham, Crystal Palace, Leeds. Reason Palace is just before Leeds because there's quite a lot of friends supporting Palace, and I'm sick and tired of them keep going on about Millwall. So so I have to go Palace second, but obviously West Ham always top.
West Ham, Leeds, Spurs.
Is that yours?
West Ham, Leeds, Spurs. Yeah,
Spurs,
I don't class
Spurs?
because they're just North London slags. But no, I wouldn't. Also, I remember when we played them in a pre-season, we played them in a friendly. I can't think what it was. It was.
It wasn't
Rhino.
Was that cup game?
No, we played them at Rhino. We played them in the FA Cup, but no, I can't think what it was now. Was it? I think it was a youth. I think it was a pre-season friendly or a.
It was a pre-season friendly. We got smashed, didn't we?
And they smashed up the fucking Corga pub, and really? It's also and also when we went there, it was fucking horrendous. The old Bill walked us in because I was fan on the board at the time there, and so many fans got fucking directed by the old Bill the wrong way, and that was probably one of the most hostile fucking places we went to, where we had Spurs fans on 3 sides of the road, and as you were led in, they were like fucking everywhere, and it was brilliant. But it was like, fucking hell, do you know what I mean? So it was a bit lively. But no, look, Spurs are in my top 3. So, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Kai, if you could change anything, and that could be a score, it could be something within the current setup, the running of the club shop, the running of the team bus, fucking anything you want, what would you change and why?
It's going to sound pretty low key, probably compared to some things you could change, but I'm going to go for I would have changed the Millwall Fulham game back in 2017-18 when Harris was in charge. We lost 3-0, and I would have changed that result because that result probably would have we would have made the playoffs that year under Harris. That would have been really special.
That was when we played them away on a Saturday, wasn't it?
No, we were home, weren't we, on a Friday night on Sky?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were like 17 unbeaten. They were like 22 unbeaten. And we lost 3-0. Sessegnon scored. But I think Morrison had a goal disallowed in the first half that should have counted. Okay. And yeah, if I could change anything, that would be the one because I think we missed out by 2 points and those 3 points would have got us in there. Okay.
Joe?
Apart from having a rich Arab owner that could pump millions and millions and millions of pounds into our team and buy us our ticket to the Premiership, I would say most realistic thing I would change is probably the kiosks at Millwall. It does me head in a little bit. Food's never really that great. I mean, apart from pies and chips and whatnot you can buy there. The beer is still not great. It takes ages for them to pour it.
Yeah.
And just the speed. I hate the queues. I mean, Jesus Christ. Can you imagine we had like a 30,000 attendance, in that kind of ground, in a big ground. It's like, and they struggle when we got like 10,000 fans there.
I've been moaning about it for forever and a day, mate. I think for the last probably 6-7 years I've been vocal.
When you were a fan of the board, did you bring that up?
Yeah.
Did you bring it up when you found the board, Mickey?
Lots and lots and lots of times. Text messages. They're doing the biggest problem they've got is the catering is third party. It's not Millwall, so it's franchised out by a big catering firm, and the problem is that it's getting the staff. So, and also what you've got to do is you've got to take into consideration as well is that there's only 23 games a season played there. So the beer and all that lot, we've had trials like when we had Moretti there. That was a trial. They don't have cellars, so they don't have what normal pubs have with the cellars, with the lines and everything else. So it's smaller kegs and stuff. But I've got no idea why they can't do it. But again, it's money, isn't it? And also, I don't know if they really want to, sell every Millwall fan a pint within fucking 10 minutes. Do you know what I mean? I remember when I used to go with my missus years ago. We used to go years ago, back early 2000, and you used to be able to get 2 beers at half time. We used to go there and drink 2 beers at half time. Knock them, get 2 beers and all that, and knock them back and all that and go. But now trying to get 2 beers and drink them before the game finishes is fucking near on impossible. Do you know what I mean?
I'm saying. It gets to a point now. I mean, you would love to go down at half time and have a quick pint and go back up and watch the second half. But it gets to a point where if you leave at the half time whistle, go down, you'd be waiting forever in the queue to get a beer. And by the time you get your beer, you've got to neck it because second half's kicked off. So it kind of puts me off. And the alternative is you leave early. Before half time. You might miss a goal, exactly. If you miss even 5 minutes, that could be a lot. It's just a real shame, isn't it, really? But
that's it. So, right, Joe.
That'll be it.
All-time favourite shirt?
I would say the 87, 88 season got promoted. So it was the old Lewisham and the shirt manufacturer was Spall, Spall at the time. Loved that shirt. Loved it. I really wish I did get the shirt at the time. I didn't get it.
I tried to get it back out, so yeah.
Yeah, I would love to get it. And so I'm pretty sure I did actually order it a few years ago off some kind of website. It never did come. Bit of a scam there. I think I mentioned to you before, didn't I, about that?
Well, we caught a scam on Twitter, an alleged scam, where he reckoned he was going to get it and he wouldn't. And I know he wouldn't, because when I was speaking to Spall years back, and when AMS won the battle, when we overturned the CPO, I wanted to get that shirt out. And with the current conditions what Millwall had with their kit sponsor. They weren't allowed to sell any other shirt.
Right.
So it could come out, but it couldn't come out with Millwall's name on it. And the trouble was that it couldn't be sold really with Millwall say so. And because of different trademarks on it, it couldn't come out because there's a company up north who's brought when Spall went bust, they basically brought all the material designs, all the original prints, blueprints, everything, so they could make it. But there's a trademark issue, and allegedly, I'm led to believe a couple of years ago that Millwall is talking to them about bringing them out. When it comes out, I've got no idea. If it comes out, I've got no idea. But I know that I wanted it out as a charity shirt, and I couldn't bring it out because we were even thinking about putting the AMS logo where the Millwall badge was and having Lewisham on it and everything else. But yeah, I think Lewisham, you have to get permission for Lewisham because it's their logo. You have to get permission from the club. You have to get permission from this, that, and everything else. But it was there. I had numerous amounts of Raj or Sarge or whatever his name is from Spall, phone calls and everything else to get it all done because they've got all the colouring. We needed to find an original shirt to match the colour up exactly, but we had everything there. It was ready to go, but yeah, weren't allowed to do it. Your favourite shirt, then, Kai?
My favourite one was the one off, the army shirt against.
Yeah. Fucking hell. There's a cheeky cunt on eBay at the moment selling one of them signed for £480.
Jeez, doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to get one of them, and they're lovely.
Have you? Well done.
Yeah, I was about probably 12, 13. So there
weren't many. If I remember rightly, it wasn't many of those made, were there? Because they didn't think they didn't think it would sell very well, did they?
No, so they ordered 1,500 of them.
Yeah,
they got 1,500 of them, and they didn't think they'd sell that well. And I never got one. And to be fair, I've never. In all the time as fan on the board and done AMS stuff, I've never even got a match worn shirt either. So I've not got one of them either. So yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
Oh well, claim to fame there, but yeah. The best piece of Millwall memorabilia you own, Kai?
Probably the Wembley photo with Paul Robinson. I think it's Neil Harris holding the trophy up. I don't know how many of them were made, but I remember got one probably just after probably about 2-3 months after the match, and it sits just in our hallway. So it will come in the house, and they could quite quickly see who we support.
I held that cup.
Did you?
you know the one the Morrison goal when Morrison scored that champion final one there. I held. I went into the den on them. Basically, on the Saturday night, they all went out. And they went out to a hotel in London, not far from the den. And my phone died, and where was we? Where was it? It was when did Morrison score? 2017.
Yeah, it
was when it 2017. Yeah. And I lived in Dartford. I'd moved to Dartford, so I'd moved. I think we'd moved to Dartford by then. Yeah, I had. And I got back here, plugged my phone in because my phone had died, and it was like, on my way home, my phone, my missus said, right, my phone's dying, I'm on my way back. Oh, no way. So I come fucking all the way up Bermondsey, London Bridge, out to here. And I get indoors and I plug my phone in. I got a text message. We're here if you want to come and join us. And I'm like, oh, sake. Shit. Okay. But anyway, nothing. So I went in the den on the Monday and I was like, right, morning, fucking skived or whatever, fucking in there. I want a picture of the cup. All right, no worries. It's not here. What do you mean it's not here? It's not here. Okay, where is it then? Tony Craig's got it. He's on his way in, but Tony Craig's got it. Tony Craig took the cup home on Saturday and slept with it. Tony Craig slept with it and then brought it in on the Monday after his kids and everyone else had slept with it and brought it in and then I got a picture of that. And also, the great big posters, what were like around the den, fucking great big, huge, like same size as you, Kai, big posters with I can't think who's on there. I think it's Fred and someone else with the cup or whatever. But I've got one of them as well. But no, I've got a couple of balls. I've got a ball from the Carling Cup, Northampton, Northampton Town. That when we played them in the Carling Cup, I've got a Carling Cup ball. I've got 1970s Mehmet shirt. training shirt or the youth shirt. I've got a couple of signed shirts. I've got Bradshaw's shirt. I've got some other bits and pieces like that and stuff. So yeah, there's a few more bits what I want and stuff. But yeah, I'd have loved the talking about it because it's only a week ago since the 5-year anniversary of the London Bridge attack. But the FA and the EFL done special commemorative medals because we won obviously the playoff thing, didn't we? We come from Division 1 back to the Championship, and to commemorate our 4 fans that were involved in that, they all got a genuine Championship medal and a signed shirt in the box, like a match worn shirt in the box and everything else. That was quite cool. I wish I had one of those. That was quite cool. So yeah. What's your bit of memorabilia then, Kai?
Did I just say it?
What did you say?
Joe, you know the Robbo and Harris picture?
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah. So then, that's it. 20 questions. Not that bad, was it?
Can I do my one?
Oh, have you not done yours yet? Yeah,
you done Kai twice, and you skipped me out.
I knew I forgot one of you. I just didn't know which one. Go on,
you just forgot the wrong one. I've got a signed football from 2001. The season got promoted with Tim Cahill, Harris, Paul Eiffel, that era, which was lovely. I've got some signed football shirts as well, where I've done sort of player sponsorships over the last sort of few years. So one of my earliest ones I've got, which I'm not particularly proud of, it's kind of like stuck up in the lofts, to be honest with you, is do you remember Andy Keogh?
Yeah.
He's played for us, the Irish striker. So I've got a signed shirt by him. I've got a Steve Morrison one, which is a nice one that you signed. And although you can't really see it at the moment, can you? But in that corner there, can you see it? Can you see
Number
that?
17.
Yeah, that's George Saville.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I've got my George Saville.
Turn the camera around the other way again.
This way.
Turn the camera back round. Is it just the daylight, or does that chair look West Ham colours to you?
You're colourblind, Nicky.
Oh, hello.
It does, doesn't it, Kai?
No,
it does a little bit, yeah.
That's claret and blue, isn't it?
Black. Which chair? The bench.
The bench. Yeah.
That's blue and black.
Is it? There's red on there, isn't there? Looks claret and blue to me.
That's just a handle.
Oh, okay.
You wind me up, haven't you?
Mate, do you remember Kai? Do you remember when we done Friday Night Live? And I wore I wore a burgundy fucking hoodie. I wore a burgundy hoodie. And
you look like West Ham.
You were one of the cunts that were giving it to me before you come on the show. You were one of the fuckers that were giving it to me.
I think
I've never worn that shirt. I've never worn that again. Was it a hoodie? Never. I gave it to my daughter, and she loves it. Yeah, it was a hoodie. Yeah, she loves it. Yeah, I've never worn it since, mate. She wears it now, so yeah.
Sorry about that. I'm sure she loves it.
So that's it. So look, we've finished the questions there. We'll do a brief one on. So then, two friendlies have been announced so far. Obviously, no friendlies in Cork. 2 friendlies have been announced so far. Ipswich and Dartford, the closest fucking away day for me. It's there.
Is it?
Literally, if I walk out my house and walk up the road next to me, it's basically at the end of that road. Cross over the road, and I'm in Dartford.
Perfect. So can we do them if it's raining? Can we come and do the press match, post-match press conference in your house then? Yeah.
Yeah, mate. No worries at all, mate. Yeah. Come and sit. I'm outside now, mate. Yeah, no worries at all, mate.
Maybe do a barbecue for us, well, Mickey, and a few beers if you don't mind.
Yeah, we could turn it into that. We could do a show afterwards if you want.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Next, we've got this on call, didn't we, Kai? So you can't get out of it now, can he?
So
it's documented.
I'll go tell the missus in a minute. By the way, the boys are coming round after the way. So, yeah.
We're there.
So yeah, look, this is it. This is who are you? Listed line, whichever it is. It's just a way. We thought we'd just do. We'd do this so you can get to know the boys here. We got another one planned with Chris and Omar. coming up soon. Omar would have been involved and Chris would have been involved in this, but they're busy at the moment. Right about now, I think Omar is on a plane on the way back from Germany. He was at England, Germany last night, so he's on his way back. Thanks very much for joining us. Just a bit of fun, really, giving you something to listen to on your dog walk, etc., etc. Hopefully, you've enjoyed it. If you want to do this, just drop us a line, get in touch, a DM, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever you want to do. We'll get you on, and we can do it. It's a standard 20 questions, fairly easy to answer. You've listened to them all today, and gives you an insight into Kai Bennett and Mr. Zampa. Hope you've enjoyed it. Do what we always ask you to do. Please do like if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're listening to us as a podcast, then please do subscribe, like, and follow us across social media. That Millwall Pod, nice and easy, same address across all social media. And that's it from us, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for listening, and up the wall.